I know it's been a bit of a delay since the last stream occurred. That's because the host of the game has been moving house, so he's obviously had to take the game down during that time. So it has been several days, and this is the first new turn that's occurred. Um, so I'll just try and jump back into it, but I'm going to have a look around just to reacquaint myself with how everything's what has happened. At present, there's no one logged in but me. Novice has already played his turn. Vindicator, Sudo and Thoth have played the last turn. Like the game was put up and then they played their turn. So Lewin, Scooter, and Commodore haven't played since then. Okay, so I'm going to have a quick look around. Just figure out tech. Okay, tech can go to 100%. Go to 90% to research. It's absolutely fine. Oh, 80% in fact. It's brilliant. Barbarian Warrior didn't attack. Obviously, there's been no change with Commodore. Thoth's played, and he's not done anything. There's nothing up here either. No changes. Novice has played. No change. What is his worker doing there? Okay. What is his worker doing there? Now, because my borders have popped, and he doesn't have construction, he can't move a settler onto any tile without me seeing it before he moves it to settle, because he can only settle on that ivory. I'm going to threaten his worker. I'm fairly sure I'm going to threaten that worker with a chariot. Okay, those two corner hooked, that one's not. So Novice has got a city down here. However, no one settled for any of this land up here. Okay, so has there been any change over here? Nothing new. I'll just check the demographics quickly. Turning on research, I go back to number 1 in GNP. And that's only with a 1.2 modifier. I do not have mysticism, so that's not actually that GMP's not. Well, it doesn't mean much either because I'm running a break even of what 30% now. So the GMP no longer means much anymore. Not even 30%. Close to 25. One moment, I've got. Well, a brand new lesson for the day. It turns out that cats don't like rain. Who'd have thought it? Anyway, back to this stuff. That's what's actually important. So yeah, GNP doesn't mean too much. Just shows that I've got the capability of being a fast researcher, but I'm not really. MFG joints first before I reallocate. It's going to be Novice. Crop yield. Not. I mean, that's going to be. Okay, let's just go back. Vindicator's last. Everyone else is just not doing that. Everyone else is just. I don't even think they're really far behind. I mean, Thoth's not really. This is tech that lags. But anyway, it's nothing really special. So I'm going to go for masonry. I'm going to build try and build pyramids in Rajadonga. Nothing, no changes here. I'm going to do some scouting. I did manage to pillage that cottage. There's nothing really. I can't pillage that. It's a desert hamlet. There's no way I'll be able to pillage that. There's nothing over there. Nothing over here. What will I do now? Yeah, I'm going to work the sheep next turn, so I move worker 4 to pasture. And that sheep will be improved next turn with a worker available to move. This, I've actually got it. Before I do anything stupid, I'm going to cancel. Because I didn't cancel those. That was a mistake. Something I should have done. Yeah. So now I'm going to carry on. This worker finishes this mine, and I move up to work it here. Yeah, so that means 3 turns to get to 31 hammers in here, then I can whip it. It's not a problem. I might as well move this archer, it makes no difference. Barb Warrior didn't attack last turn, it won't attack this turn. So I'm going to move. I want to get onto that forest hill to act as a sentry. And the axe can stay where it is. Yeah, I can threaten the worker with a chariot. It's not a problem. I don't even know why it's there. Don't know why that worker's there. It might actually be his only source of ivory, so actually he might want to settle that. If that forest wasn't there, I would just position to snipe the worker. That's obviously not going to happen. But I do need to consider chopping that now. Chopping that tile so that I can easily road it. So that if Novice settles that... Because if Novice settles that ivory, he's got 10 turns before his borders will pop. And it'll take him maybe another 2 turns after that, maybe. If he were to settle that, it'll take him 2 turns, yeah. 2 turns to get the inner ring. So I'd have about 11 turns, probably. 11 to 12 turns to react to kill that city. Otherwise, I just need to wait. Otherwise, because MacArthur's going to get to 500 culture before, say, Baron again gets 200, and he will own that ivory tile. He doesn't need a city on it to hold it, in my opinion. Because Miller will expand as well at 100, and it'll do that fairly quickly. So he'll then get the ivory from that. So he doesn't need to settle a city. Does not need to settle a city to get that. So actually, might not. He might just be trying to prep, hooking it up for the extra happiness. But I can't be having that. I'm going to move the chariot to threaten. Let's carry on improving the calendar resources. I already have... Vindicator's moved that bowman away, so I can actually move this chariot back into my territory. There's already a chariot in, and I'll carry that can deal with this bowman no matter where it moves. So I'm actually going to move chariot back onto the desert hill road. 2 workers. Yeah. I'm just trying to figure out what Thoth's going to do. Because he doesn't need much. Doesn't need much just to make it. I mean, I really ought to have a second spear here, but even then, that's not necessarily enough. I'm gonna have to risk it. I'm gonna chop now. Where am I? I could just put a turn into. See, the different thing is, I could put a turn into the plantation. Um, in fact, if I really wanted to play safe, I'd actually just put another. I wouldn't actually have chopped it. I would have just plantation that tile because that'd give me a single turn where there'd be a worker on that tile ready to. Right, so it finished the plantation, be a worker on that tile, beings defending it. One turn that Thoth could attack, but he'd be able to see that a mile off. So I don't think it makes that much difference. He's either going to attack or he isn't. I'm going to chop it. Still nothing new in that city. I do feel uncomfortable. Even with so many units, I do feel uncomfortable. I mean, I'd even consider moving the archer underneath, but there's literally no point in doing that. The archer's just going to die to whatever Thoth throws at it. That's the only tile the archer can stand on, and it's useful to me. Anyway, carry on with this. Yeah, I finished that cottage. Finished that mine, cottage, that grassland, chop that plains forest, a few choices. I've already said I need to whip the library because there's so much culture coming out of here now. There's like 4 culture per turn, and that's before he even gets religion in there. So I need to get the library. I didn't want to whip it, but I kind of had little choice. Yeah, it's like I need to whip it because I need the extra culture so that I get to 100 culture quicker, expand the borders for 40% defensive bonus, and to ensure that I keep control over the forest hill and the peak. Well, actually, the peak I'll hold anyway. It's just the lake tile I kind of want, and the forest hill. The other 3 tiles I'll hold no matter what. But if I want to put any other pressure onto the banana, I need to start putting out more culture now. So if I whip, what do I give up? I give up the lake. I give up the cottage. Well, hamlet now. I need 28 food to grow. I've got 20 saved, and I'll actually make 6. So I'll grow in 2 rather than 3. I need to give up the sheep for a turn. If you recall, give up the sheep from Aram Collusion to grow Say Baron again. On time to work the additional cottage if I were to cottage. But if I don't cottage, the city's still going to grow and it still needs a tile to work. Would actually most likely work the hamlet. So there's I kind of want to chop that forest just for safety reasons, and just to enable a bit more freedom. Yeah. There's nothing I can really get here though. Yeah. I'm not going to chop. Well, I want to also, the reason I want to chop it now is because there's no Novice has got no units in the area, so he can't really screw with me too much. So I can just chop it and then get the worker out. I don't need units to defend. I'm gonna wait. The spear stands there, doesn't it? And this spear, I want to move it down a turn and leave it here. This way it can defend 3 cities. Really, Do Not Die doesn't need defending. Actually, Do Not Die is not. I'm going to just cover it with a warrior. I'll leave the axe there. The axe to. Oh, what's this? Wait. Ooh, I've not labelled these spearmen. That's bad of me. It should be 3 and 4. Okay, so I'm going to leave that spear defense, say Baron again, and I'll carry. That spearman defense too, so it's not ideal. I could do with 1 extra spear just to sit in each city, so I'd also have fortification bonus. There's disadvantages to that. Namely, I'd actually have to build another spear. I'd have to pay the upkeep cost for it. And I don't need to appear any more dangerous to anyone else. I don't think anyone's going to screw with me. I just have to play as if they might. So yeah, it's just that worker now to deal with. Okay, well, if I were to chop this forest, it would be chopped on, I'll move on 88, chop on 9, 90 and 91. So on 91, I'd either chop into something I'm not going to finish for a while, so the chop's not actually being productive to me. Or I chop out the workboat, and then I overflow all the few hammers that I'm finished. That'll be 14 hammers. It's not too bad, it's 14 hammers. I'll put it into something, don't know what. I then need a fort on this tile, which next turn I finish pasturing that sheep and I've got 1 worker turn free, and this worker's free. So I actually would move 1 there. He roads, turn after he roads. 1 of them's free for turn. He moves up here, finishes that. Just to finish it. It takes 10 turns to finish the fort. So I'm actually paying 10 worker turns for the privilege of getting 30 hammers from Say Baron again to Do Not Die. Someone could debate how useful just doing this is. There's probably quite a good debate on that topic, simply because it's like, how much do I need the hammers in Say Baron again? Well, frankly, I don't need any hammers here because it's not doing anything. I don't need the barracks. I'm not going to build a wonder there. I don't want settlers or workers. I've not got a barracks to build military. So actually, is it? Like, how worthwhile is it? And also, that workboat would have to improve the whale because I won't have the culture expanded to get the fish. Borders aren't expanding and got the reset for 75 turns, and I've not got any culture and Do Not Die. So yeah, it'd have to be the whale, which isn't too bad. I do want to work that tile. It's a 4 yield tile. Gives food rather than hammers from a mine, but also gives a good chunk of commerce rather than the 1 from some of these, or none from others. So it's not a bad tile hookup, but there's a question of, do I need to do it right now? And I think that's a very important question. Do I need to do it right now? I don't think I do. So it's simply chopping that forest. I am only chopping that forest to get it done now before Novice has any units in position to do it. And someone could argue quite effectively that by moving that chariot where I have now, I'm showing Novice that I am going to be aggressive with him. And while I've already shown him that I'm defending a worker up here because I know he can be aggressive, so I don't know. Diplomatically, perhaps I shouldn't have moved the chariot there, but I'm not regretting that decision as yet. I do want to slow him down. Well, I do want to slow him down a bit. I actually think I'm going to go with the cottage option. I'm going to go to cottage. I can do that cottage and then delay, and then move up to do the chart, but it'd be done on 90, end of turn 95, I think, which I think is reasonable. 95, 96, 97, yeah. So improve the whale 98. I'm okay with that. That's pretty much the entire turn done. I'll just go through the cities quickly. Got the reset, is not growing particularly quickly. Once that cottage is done next turn, I'll move off one of the hills and onto there to grow at 3 food per turn rather than 2. So I'll be at 20. So actually, that'll be delaying growth a single turn if I don't use the pig at all. There's probably a amount of turns I can work the pig that would actually speed growth productively. I don't know, but it's not something I'm that bothered about. Because anyway, I need the pig and Razor Donga to work all the hills because I'm building mids and I need to work the hills to get it done quickly, so I'm not giving up the pig, so fuck it, it doesn't matter. I could work the coastal tile this turn to grow in 6 rather than 7. I'm basically giving up 3 hammers for 1 commerce and 1 food, and to grow that turn quicker. And to be fair, I'll talk about that later, I would get those hammers back on one of the commerce due to growing that turn earlier. So actually, yeah, I'll do it. I'll do it. Doesn't matter. I'm building barracks because there's nothing else to build. I was actually just took me by surprise that I'm doing that, but really, there'll be a turn in the future when I'll want to build military and I'll be like, oh shit, I've not got barracks, and it'll annoy me. That's not necessarily a reason to do it, but if the excuse is I don't need more military right now and that's the only thing to build, I might as well build it. Also, is it a 3 rather than... Working the hill this turn would mean I overflowed out as many hammers as possible, but fuck it, it doesn't matter. I don't care about overflowing hammers out of got the reset. I'm not going to build anything. Oh, actually, I could build the Great Wall, and we'll play him with no espionage. That's not the worst thing I've ever considered, because I don't... One of the things that was considered for RB mod was actually changing the great person output of wonders and national wonders, specifically in games that use the no espionage setting, like this game does. I can't recall what happened. I think the argument was that there's nothing you can really change it to that's not unbalancing or doesn't greatly affect game strategies. Like, because if you put it to an artist, there's no counter to a great artist early in the game. You just settle up on somebody, you culture bomb them and hold that city, and you just you can wreck their entire game. That can be just a lose button for that person, so you can't do it as artists. Merchants, it enables a civil service bulb under certain circumstances that's quite powerful. Scientists, there's no real point. Why would a Great Wall give you scientists? Stuff like that. And engineers, just straight out, is not acceptable. It's just because it's potentially very easy then to rush masonry, rush the Great Wall, and then some civs can use that to build the pyramids just with that engineer. So it's not acceptable to do that. Funnily enough, the merchant was actually, I think, what was considered to be the most likely choice, because you could get a great merchant from the Great Lighthouse anyway. But the Great Lighthouse would often be built later because it needed more tech from fishing and sailing. You had to build a lighthouse to then build the Great Lighthouse. So it actually was delayed a little bit, but not enough so that it would actually make a difference, because you'd normally have to wait a while just to get the techs necessary to make a bulb to civil service for bureaucracy. So having merchant specialists on the Great Wall wouldn't matter, because you'd just have to wait a bit longer anyway. But yeah, there was nothing that could really change it to, so it meant that we kept the Great Spy points, which in a no espionage game don't actually pop a great person. They don't count towards what you can get. So there was an old bug, if I recall, that you in a no espionage game you could just work spies and get the great wall, whatever, and the great person bar would actually just fill with these points, and then it wouldn't pop a great person. Then you used, say, on the last turn to pop a great person, or afterwards, it didn't matter. You ran a single turn of a single of a single specialist, so an engineer, and you would always get the engineer. So it was actually there is actually a way of using the Great Wall to speed up certain types of great person generation. So actually, building the Great Wall's not, in my opinion, a bad choice. It also does. It's not a bad choice. It's cheap. It's not that. I mean, if I lose it, I get some gold, and I'm not bothered with that. That's quite. I wouldn't complain if I got the gold, but I also get plus 100% great general emergence inside cultural borders. I'm playing imperialistic, and that just synergizes for me to get a lot more great generals than anyone else. One of the things I've discussed with other people before is the use of great generals to ensure you can make commando units. Like you can just build units with enough experience to make to promote a unit straight to commando without taking part in any battles. It does kind of break the meta game quite a lot, because it forces somebody, like once railroads around anyway, it forces somebody to defend all of their cities that you can reach. They have to railroad in very specific manners to stop you from just running straight through their territory. So it does change the tactical game quite a lot. Now for me, because I'm aggressive, I need only enough promotions to take combat 2, 3, 4 and commando. So I need 4 promotions, which I get at 2 XP, 5 XP, 10 XP and then 17 experience points. So in my heroic epic city, which makes plus 100% unit production, so I can try and get some at 1 per turn. If I build the West Point in there as well, I get 5 experience points anyway, plus the barracks point puts it to 8, plus feudalism, vassalage and theocracy makes it 12. I only actually need what is it, 14, 16, 18, so I only need 3 great generals settled in a city to do it, or Pentagon. And Pentagon is a possibility by that time. It's around when railroad gets done, but it doesn't matter. But I need 2 per city. If I got Statue of Zeus, which is very forward thinking of me, in the heroic epic city, you only need 1. You don't even need to settle that if you get. You don't need 1 great general. You don't even need that if you get Pentagon in another city. You can just build commander units. It could be fucking terrifying, to be totally honest with you. The other choice is then the city that's going to be the Ironworks city. You would also settle a lot of the great generals in, and so you can actually get 2 cities that just make constant, like 1 unit per turn commando units, and you just have commando stacks running around. You can't necessarily take cities because you can't bomb down the cultural defense. You can't do it until you get planes and bombers and fighters and shit like that. Like real late game, but it completely changes late game warfare. And the simple fact that you have them means that they have to build those units, and it costs them. It's so many hammers to do that, thousands and tens of thousands of hammers to defend properly. If they don't spend it, you can actually attack them. And yes, it can be costly. It might cost you 1,000 or so. Might cost you 2,000 hammers to take a city. But if that's a city that makes 150 hammers per turn and commerce and all that, it's like, well, that's quite painful, and that's actually a good exchange for you, plus the units that you can kill. So actually, I'm considering now that I might not even finish this barracks. I might actually just go straight for the Great Wall. It's not a difficult thing to build either, because I've still got 2 forests I can chop. If I wanted to rush it, I could do. It would show my hand that I have masonry. But I feel quite happy to get that, because I can also then stop points towards another great scientist. Well, I'm only getting one for an academy, but a second one for a potential philosophy bulb for religion or to settle is not a bad thing. I've already put one turn into a scientist, so I don't even. So that's almost certainly what I'd get. I won't have the ability to make a priest or artist or merchant or engineer, so I'll almost certainly get a priest. Not a priest, get a scientist. I'm an idiot sometimes. Get a scientist. I'd only make 7 hammers a turn into it, but that's okay. Growing 6, so that's 5 turns of making 7. That's 35. Then I make 10 a turn. So that would be an additional 12 turns. So 12 plus 6, 18. That's not too bad. 106. Yeah, I'd take that. I'd be quite happy with that. If I wanted to chop I may chop this forest here because it's still a forest. I can mine it and it doesn't. I don't lose the tile yield, so I could always mine that. So that'd be 6. That'd shave 6 turns off from it. If I worked another hill for a few turns, I could shave off another turn, so that'd drop it down 7. That'd mean that I could get it done in about 11 turns from now. So yeah, I might do that. Something I'll think about. Here tomorrow big, building a worker. I had to do the archer this turn to overflow out and into the worker again. So I get the worker in 3 turns, not in 4. Yeah, that was the right way. That was how I was doing it. Finished the worker building pyramids. The library I built them to was a complete waste. Then again, I didn't know this opportunity would arise. So, yeah, I don't care. Take that. I think I'm going to continue working the sugar. I am not going to use the ivory immediately. I'm going to work the sugar. I'm going to grow to size 8 and then work the ivory. Then I'll grow to size 9 slowly and work Plains Hill. That's how I'm going to do it. Because, as I said before, Novice can technically still beat me to it if he just rushes everything for it. I'm not going to try and stop him. I'm going to just go for mids now, but not completely wreck this city. If I get it, that's great. I get it for happiness. I get it so I can still work scientists to tech a bit better. And I'll have absolutely no reason to tech monarchy until I need to get feudalism. So I can just ignore the entire religious line for as long as I can. ARAM collusion. I needed to decide if I was going to whip it this turn. I've said I would do because I need to start pushing out culture to get the banana back. It's going to be a while before I can do that, but I think I'm going to go for it. So I'm going to whip it this turn. I need to think where the overflow will go to though, because I don't want to put the overflow into a settler or worker, because I need to regrow. I don't want to spend turn not growing. And also this turn, also the turn it would regrow to size 5, the incense would be there, so I'd work that so it's size 5 actually. How quickly is this? I need to know how quickly the ivory needs to be, since the ivory needs to get given up. I need 15, I need this turn, so it's 6 turns, so 8, 9, 90, end of turn 93, so 94 I need the ivory I think. Yeah, 94 I need that ivory. So I can still work this ivory for a while. I need to give up the sheep, but I can give up I can swap onto the cottage for a single turn. Making 6. I need it this turn, I need it next turn. And I'll work the sheep, pig, 2 hills. I'll then grow to size 5. The 5th pop will work the ivory, and I may swap the sheep over that turn and then move it back. So yeah, it's still okay. I'm going to whip it now. The overflow is actually going to go in. I mean, I've already got a barracks here, so I don't mind the overflow going into a unit here, because there is literally nothing else for me to put it into. It's going to be 9 hammers. I'm going to probably just put it into I don't know. Spear does seem like the wisest course. But an archer's not too bad. I can decide next turn, it doesn't matter. Yeah. This turn, next turn I need to keep the sheep in there, so I'll be at 20. Oh, I need 7. Um, So I'll be at 23, 25. Yeah. Okay. So I'll be at 23 and 25. Yeah. So that's okay. I can keep the sheep with ARAM collusion. Oh shit, no. That was close. I actually shouldn't have whipped that because it just took away from doing masonry. That was a mistake. But it's not too bad because the lower cost mean that I can do masonry. Actually, that was a mistake. I should have considered that. So I got lucky on that one. Then again, the costs were that close that I could have guessed, but I didn't. That was just luck. But yeah, I can use the sheep in ARAM collusion for 2 turns to grow. I don't even need it for 2 turns, but I will keep it there. Then I'll use it on turn 90. I'll swap the cottage over. The sheep will go on. So the sheep pop and the cottage pop will just swap between the cities for a turn. Get back. The cottage will complete on 91, so I can work both cottages again. Yeah, size 5, that's not a problem. Carry on doing the workboat, doesn't matter. Next turn I can whip the library. And I'm actually going to get a wall in that city. Get a wall, definitely get a wall. I don't need any more forest chops for culture. I don't want to chop that lumber mill into the scarrow ward. I want to save that for potential great wool chop. There are still 2 hills that I need to chop. They're not hills, 1 hill and this one here. This one can wait, it doesn't matter. I might take over I might take over that tile, but not in time for it to enter my culture. Yeah, so I'm going to hook the die. I'm going to run the risk. I'm going to hook the die with 2 workers. Thoth could get aggressive. I hope he doesn't. I really do hope he doesn't. And then I'm going to move both of them to chop these 2 tiles here. Or at least the one on the hill. At least the one on the hill. Man, I need 4 to grow and I'm making 5. I'll overflow 1, save 11, that's 12. I'll immediately whip it again. So it'll still grow in 2 turns. So I'll whip it 89, it'll grow end of turn 90. So I can actually put the overflow into a wall on turn 90 and then whip it again on 91 and just stack the whip hanger. Actually, no, I can't because I don't have stone and I'm not protective and it's 50 hammers, so I can't. So I'll almost certainly end up waiting until a chop happens to finish that. Because I think that'll happen around about the time that I'd grow this city to size 4, maybe just a bit before. Do not die. Yeah, builds a grounding for 3 turns, 7 hammers, get to 31 out of 60, whip it. On the turn that I whip it, I actually can take the corn back already. And the city will make 6. It'll be at 13, and it'll still save the full 11 food possible from the granary. So yeah, this city has not got any difficulty. It'll then regrow to size 2, and then whip the barracks. And I'll carry, yep, works the corn this turn to grow, saves as much food as possible. Uses the sheep next turn. It'll save 11, overflow out 5, so it'll be at 16. It'll need 24 to grow, it'll make 8 with the sheep, so it'll actually grow. End of turn 89. And then, what will I do? So it grows into an 88, end of turn 89. 90, I slave the barracks for 1 pop, so I'm back down to size 2. I'll have saved 12 food, and it'll still make 8, so it'll grow in 2, so it'll grow, so 8, and grow, end of turns, 88, 89, and 91, and yeah, and 91, so it'll be back to site, and then it'll come with the Oasis, at site, what was it, 8, 8, 16, 28, needs 4, save 12, that's 16, needs 26, so it'll then take 2 further turns to grow, so it'd be 92 and 93, however 8, 9, however I'm going to have to give up that Oasis, not the Oasis, the corn onto, what was it, 88, 89, 90, got to give it up on 90, so actually 89, oh no, 88, 89, 90 does that, 91 I've got to give it up, so on 90, so 88, 89. So it'll regrow to size, it'll still regrow to size 3 and to turn 90, and to turn 91, but there won't be, but it'll only have 2 improved tiles to work. So yeah, these cities, the micromanagement's a bit weird because I'm swapping between, there's so few improved tiles. While I say that, there's what, three improved tiles for 3 pop, but it's because of how they're split that it gets a bit funky. But I can always swap over this hill tile to and I'll carry, so that's not a problem. It'll slow growth slightly, but it's not too much of a problem as I'm swapping between the tiles, because I need to regrow to size 2 quickly in Do Not Die to get the barracks out so that I can get the fish. And at that, because once the barracks is slaved, it's a bit weird what I do, because I kind of have to build the workboat, but the workboat build really does need to be timed from border pops. So I need to micromanagement the hammer output in the, and yeah, I need to micromanage the hammer output in that city, because there's nothing else I really need to build here. The library's not going to do anything. I would only need 1 workboat because the other one's going to be finished for the whale from Saybaron again, from that, hopefully from that shop, and I don't need too many units, so it doesn't need a wall. There's nothing it can build, so it might actually be that I finish masonry and then I'm going to save gold again and look at doing horseback riding. And just to look at the tech side, it takes me 4 turns at 100%, which I obviously can't do, but at break even, just to, it's between, I've got a library coming in, population, tiles, calendar resources being hooked and all that, so it's going to take me, I reckon, about 10 turns to do it. So yeah, that's the turn. Just hope I've not made any big stupid mistakes now. Check again quickly. See what it's like. What I'm terrified. Well, what I think will happen. Not what I think. What I'm scared of happening is that Thoth's got just 3 immortals set up to attack this stack, because I don't even think he needs 3 immortals. Well, actually, 3 immortals is all he needs to do it safely, but he's got 1 here, so he could actually do it with 2. He only needs 2 hidden, but he'd have to attack. But because of, fuck it, it's an axe. It doesn't matter. He just needs 2 here, hidden. He attacks with this immortal. And he attacks the chariot. If he wins, it's great, because his next one will attack over a river, and it doesn't matter. He'll still have odds. I think. Don't even think it needs to be promoted. I think he'd have odds against an axe, so he just attacks with that first immortal. And does it? It's great. The problem is that there's just literally nothing that I can do. I mean actually, that archer, 50% city defense. If I move it into the city and I promote it to city defense, The Immortal will have it'll only have the plus 10% strength because it'll be plus 20. So he'll have odds with the Immortal. So there's not a lot I can do. I actually do need. I really ought to have a second spear here to defend this properly, not an axe. Though obviously the issue is that if I didn't have that axe and I had a spear, he could just walk in and have very big difficulty stopping him with the axe. With his axe, I just actually have to put the archer in the city, and he could just throw units at it, and I still think he could win. But I'm going to run this risk. It's a question of what Thoth wants to do. Thoth actually is quite an intelligent player, and unless he's learnt from Commodore and goes Banzai, I don't think he probably wouldn't attack it because he probably thinks it's not really worth it. In fact, what I ought to do is I ought to go to Thoth and offer him something like a horse for horse trade, to signify a level of peace. It's just that yeah, I actually ought to do that because this is the one area where we're really. But it didn't matter really. It was always going to be a bit aggressive between the two of us. I mean, because I was always going to settle for that die. There was no way I wasn't giving that die up. So even if I settled one tile back, it was still going to be aggressive. Just less so. But over here, it's going to be like where I'm hoping to settle. It's not going to be close. Like we won't even have any overlap between big fat crosses. BFCs. It'll just be quite a wide area between us with a lot of culture. So we be quite peaceful. This is the one area. So Thoth might decide that it's not worth messing about with, especially considering his crop yield's good. His manufacturing's not bad at all, but in his GMPs, he might think that his is improving and mine's tanking, so that he can do whatever he wants, and that or rather that he thinks that I'm not going to reach military tax anytime soon. He'd be wrong, but he can think a lot of things to justify, to rationalise an attack or to not attack. I don't know Thoth well enough to say he definitely will do one or the other. Just that he's an intelligent player, and I think that he'll recognise that he doesn't need to wage a war right now to carry on to win this game. I fucking hope he does that. I don't mind trade. I trade him happy. It doesn't bother me. Between the two of us, I'm happy to trade happiness with him. But we don't have any spares. But if I hooked up the two sugars, I'd actually be willing to trade him a sugar for something, like a spare sugar for something. Anyway, that's a turn. I'm gonna end it now. I'm then gonna log out and let Thoth attack if he wants to, because now it's his choice. Oh, for what it's worth, I did just say I need an extra. I could do an extra spear here. There's no way in hell I'd move this spear out, because there can always be something hidden in that fog of war. I am just not ever running that risk. So yeah. Anyway, that's the turn. Might be around tomorrow. I hope everyone has a good